You buy a private island. You never planned to buy an island. It started as a joke. One night you were lying in bed, scrolling through your phone at 2:13 a.m., the room completely dark except for the cold blue glow of the screen. Your life had become painfully predictable. Wake up, work, eat, sleep, repeat. Every day felt like a copy of the day before. Then while scrolling through random luxury real estate videos, you saw it. A private island. Not a resort, not a vacation rental. An actual island. The video showed white sand beaches, crystal clear water, palm trees moving slowly in the wind, and a tiny wooden dock stretching into the ocean. The caption said, "Private island for sale, less than the price of a city apartment." You laughed. There was no way that was real, but your thumb stopped scrolling. You watched the video again, then again. The island was small, only a few acres. It had one old wooden house, a solar power system, a freshwater tank, and a satellite internet dish. It was located somewhere in the Caribbean, far away from big cities, tourists, noise, traffic, and everything that made your normal life feel heavy. You clicked the link. The website loaded slowly, and there it was. Photos, drone footage, documents, a map. The island was real, and somehow it was just barely within reach. You sat up in bed. Your heart started beating faster. For the first time in months, maybe years, you felt something you had almost forgotten. Excitement. The next morning, you told yourself it was stupid. People like you didn't buy islands. That was something billionaires did. Celebrities, tech founders, people with yachts and private chefs. Not you. You had bills, a job, responsibilities. But during breakfast, you opened the listing again. At work, you checked it between emails. At lunch, you zoomed into the satellite map. By the end of the week, you had contacted the real estate agent. Her name was Clara. She replied almost immediately, "Yes, the island is still available. The owner is motivated to sell." That sentence changed everything. You asked why it was so cheap. Clara said the island was beautiful but remote. Maintenance was difficult. Storm season was expensive. And most buyers wanted something already renovated, not a place that needed work. But you didn't care. The more she explained the problems, the more you imagined the possibilities. No neighbors, no traffic, no landlord, no one above you stomping on the floor at midnight. Just ocean, wind, silence. For 2 weeks, you barely slept. You watched videos about island ownership. You learned about desalination systems, generators, permits, boat access. Every new problem should have scared you away. Instead, it pulled you deeper. Finally, Clara arranged a visit. 3 weeks later, you were sitting inside a tiny propeller plane, flying over endless blue water. The plane vibrated like it was held together by hope and old screws. Outside the window, the ocean stretched forever. Then the pilot pointed forward. "There it is." At first, you didn't understand what you were looking at. Then you saw it. A small circle of green surrounded by glowing turquoise water. Your island. Not officially yours yet. But in your mind, something had already shifted. The plane landed on a nearby larger island, and from there, Clara met you at the dock. The boat ride took 20 minutes. As you got closer, the island grew larger. You saw the palm trees, the white beach, the old wooden house sitting just above the shoreline. And then the boat slowed down. The engine cut off. For a moment, there was only the sound of water tapping against the hull. You stepped onto the dock. The wood creaked beneath your feet. You looked around. No cars, no voices, no buildings in the distance. Just you, Clara, the boat captain, and the impossible feeling that you had stepped into someone else's dream. Clara gave you the tour. The house was worse than the photos. The roof needed repairs. The kitchen was outdated. Some windows didn't close properly. The floorboards groaned when you walked. A small lizard disappeared behind the couch. But you didn't see problems. You saw mornings with coffee on the porch. You saw writing at a wooden desk while the ocean moved outside. Behind the house was a narrow path leading into the trees. Clara said the previous owner started a second cabin. You followed her through the palms. The air smelled like salt, wood, and sun-warmed leaves. Then you saw the unfinished cabin, just a frame. No walls, no roof. But the view from that spot was unbelievable. The land rose slightly, giving you a perfect view. You stood there for a long time. Clara didn't speak. She knew. By the time you left the island, you had already made your decision. The paperwork took months, longer than you expected. Your family thought you had lost your mind. Your friends thought it was a phase. One coworker laughed and said, "So what? You're just going to become a pirate?" You laughed too. But deep down, you were serious. You sold your apartment. You sold your car. Piece by piece, your old life disappeared. Then one morning, Clara called. "The transfer is complete." You didn't say anything at first. You just stood there. She laughed softly. "Congratulations. You own an island." For the first few seconds, it didn't feel real. Then your knees felt weak. You sat down on the floor. A few days later, you arrived with 3 suitcases, a backpack, and a key. The boat captain helped unload your supplies, boxes of food, tools, solar equipment. Then he stepped back onto the boat. "You sure you want to stay alone tonight?" he asked. You looked at the island behind you. The sun was starting to lower. You nodded. "I'm sure." The boat pulled away. The engine faded. And then, for the first time, you were truly alone. At first, it was beautiful. You ate dinner on the porch, listening to waves instead of traffic. At night, the stars appeared. But after midnight, the island changed. The darkness was deeper than you expected. The ocean sounded louder. Every creak in the house felt important. Every rustle outside. The next morning, you woke up to sunlight spilling through the windows. Everything felt perfect again. You walked around the entire island. You found a rusted metal box half buried near the rocks. The first week felt like a dream. You cleaned, repaired, posted photos online. Comments flooded in. By the second week, small problems started appearing. A storm rolled in one afternoon. You spent the night holding a flashlight, listening to rain slam against the windows like thrown stones. Every day became work. You repaired, carried, filtered, cleaned. But your mind was quiet. One evening, you returned to the rusted metal box. The lock snapped after 3 hits. Inside was a bundle of old papers wrapped in plastic. Maps, handwritten notes, photographs. On the back of the photo, someone had written, "Last day before evacuation." Your stomach tightened. You searched through the papers. Mentions of storms, government notices. This island had a history. The next morning you called Clara. There was a pause, a small one. But you noticed. That night behind the unfinished cabin, under thick vegetation, you found concrete foundations. A week later, a small boat appeared near the reef. They didn't wave. They just watched. The next morning you went to a marked area with a shovel. The shovel hit metal, a hatch, heavy, hidden.